Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter. Welcome back to the show, everybody. As you guys can see, it's just me tonight. Hank has something come up, so you get to hear me. But, guys, we got a great guest coming on tonight. But before we bring the guest on, we got some things to talk about. First of all, Drew Gill, man, congratulations to him on winning on the Chowan River. Congratulations. It was great to be there to experience that. A rookie winning his first Major League Fish and Bass Pro Shop Series event. And guys, gals, if you're in the area and you've never been down there to Edenton, North Carolina, it's a nice little town, cool little shops, and some great fishing. If you guys watched the end of the live, you saw that. So thank you to everyone. I got to meet a bunch of great people and experience Edenton, North Carolina. So make a trip, hang out at Edenton, North Carolina. Also, don't forget, guys, we got the Bassmaster Elites this week, then off for a week, and then we got them for another week. So this is for everyone playing fantasy fishing with the basscast.com. I hope you made your pick because day one is already in the books. So we got that. Plus, I got more news coming about syndication. We got another great place. They'll be hosting Basscast Radio really soon. So I'll be breaking that as well. Don't forget about Dockside Live 365. We're on Saturdays and Sunday mornings on there. You can head on over to their website, Dockside Live 365. And so Dockside Live is all audio. TAAO.com. You can download the app and you can watch Basscast Radio plus many other great podcast shows, fishing, and I think he's got hunting coming. And you can watch all that right from your mobile phone. So, guys, tonight, I got a special guest. Reached out to this guy right here, Michael Catt. He ended up winning his very first Toyota Series event on the Potomac River. For you guys who don't know, Potomac River is only a few hours away from the home of the Basscast.com right here in Central Virginia. I've been up there many times. It's a great place as well. I know a lot of great anglers that catch some giant bass on a Potomac tidal water river. But this is his first ever win, a big win for him. So we thought we'd get him on, talk about the event, talk about life, and for you guys to get to know him as an angler a little bit more. And this is what we really like doing here at the basscast.com. We really like introducing you all to new anglers, new people, and getting that community going and the relationship going with all of you guys. Don't forget, I got a contest dropping this week on our newsletter as well as the basscast.com. But guys and gals, if you are a member of our newsletter, and I will put the link to that in the title description below, then you will have dibs first. That means you get to enter first. You can enter daily. This is a missile baits giveaway. There's the hat. So going to be giving away a lot of great products from Missile Baits, as well as a free jersey from Wild Wear America, valued at $100. So our giveaway is usually about $150 to $200 based on what all I put in there. But this is our June giveaway, and our newsletter drops the 14th. So I'm going to drop it on Friday because the 15th is on a Saturday, and I usually drop them on the 1st and the 15th of every month. But make sure you sign up and be a part of our bi-weekly newsletter. You're going to find a lot of great content by our writers, me, Bruce, and we got some more writers coming on, guys. I've been doing some interviewing, working on that. So there's a lot of great things happening at the basscast.com, as well as a lot of brand new followers. So thank you for following us. Thank you for following Basscast Radio. Drop us a comment. Leave us your thoughts and opinions. We love reading all of them because it helps us make this show better for you. So without any further ado, Mr. Michael Catt right here on Basscast Radio. Michael Catt, man, welcome to Basscast Radio. Thank you for taking the time tonight and talking with us. Congratulations on the win, by the way. How are you feeling, man?
Thank you.
We always talk about to anglers about the drive home and after a bad tournament, but putting a win, a little cash in the pocket, the beautiful trophy for you guys who are watching on YouTube is right beside him. How you feel, brother?
Well, first off, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it a lot. I feel great. Like this is something I've been wanting. You hear it all the time, and it's true. I've been wanting this for a long time, and I grew up doing this out of the back of the boat for so long, and I had a lot of people that had complete faith in me, knew that I could do it from the front of the boat, and within the first 3 years, I got my first trophy. So I'm pretty ecstatic about that, and I know I can just take this momentum and keep running with it, and hopefully get me another one.
Yeah, we always talk about that as well. Momentum plays such a big impact. I mean, in tournaments and getting that first win, kind of early in the season. Which division, Toyota Series, which division, I guess, are you fishing? Or are you fishing all of them?
Well, no, I'm not doing all of them.
Okay.
I am looking for some more potential sponsors, people to get and carry me through on the 2025 season, just to put that out there. I also, I'm only doing the Southerns and the Northerns
Okay.
this year, but see, I've already clinched this win. And that gets me into
Yes.
Wheeler already, so that's a great thing. I'll be at the championship. Um, but I'm doing okay in the Southerns. I didn't do too bad. I made day 3 on Okeechobee and finished up in good points there, and then um, and Harris, I stumbled. Well, I didn't. I would have made day 3, but I got caught behind the locks in the Popka. So I
Uh-oh.
had 15 pounds in the boat. That would have put me in the top 10. And along with about 9 other boats and 20 other people, we all got DQ'd for getting locked in. So
Wow.
just what happens. That
Yeah.
that a Popka lock was taking so long. And now it's only 7 minutes to get through. Then it was 47 minutes to get through.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah,
That is
they put these
crazy.
manatee. Yeah, they put these nets to keep the manatees from going in there and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it was dragging, it was catching stuff and clogging it all up, and it was burning it up, and it was taking forever. So the last I heard, they pulled them because it wasn't working, and now the locks flow really
That's
quick. But
awesome.
they're
That's awesome.
sorry, I had a phone call. I deleted. They're reconstructing the locks now. They're going to be working on the Griffin lock and expanding it from 9 boats to 16 boats,
Oh, wow.
which is going to be crazy. Yeah. So they're doing the Griffin lock first. I do believe I heard it's shut down right now. You won't be able to go through that lock for a while.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
they're going to move over to the Popka lock and expand that one. So,
Well, let's turn
uh,
back the clock from Michael, man. Because I've never met you before, so let's introduce you to a lot of our guests and new
okay.
guests and returning guests. Let's talk about the fish and bug, and working your way up to the Toyota Series.
So, starting back to when I was like a lot younger, I grew up with my dad fishing and stuff like that, and doing small events here and there. And then, man, I got out of high school and was rodeo, and I got out of fishing for quite, but I was just missing something. I had to get back into it. So I went out and bought me a boat and started fishing again. And I didn't get in a lot of these bigger events. I started with the BFLs,
Right.
worked my way up through the BFLs as a co-angler. And the very first event on the St. Johns River, I almost won it. And out of
Wow.
the back of the boat, I drew just lucky draws, I feel, but I almost won it on the very first event. And then that gave me a lot of momentum to keep going. And I did real well. And then I had a family and I took a little break. Um, and then I got back into it about 11 years ago, and I've been a co-angler for so long. Man, I've learned so much as a co-angler. I can't, a lot of people will tell you, why are you in the back of the
Mm-hmm.
boat? You'll never do anything in the back of the boat. This won't happen. This won't happen. All negativity. You're wrong, because you will learn. It's all about what you want to do with it. I take it, I go home and I write notes. I'll tell you what, the boater did on that day. I'll
Right.
tell you what the the winner did that week, and what I did, how I caught him, how I presented myself. I'll take all them notes, and then now moving to the front of the boat 3 years ago, I joined the MPFL first off and did pretty well there. And I got back. I moved back because I couldn't afford that one, but
Right.
started off in the MLS and started fishing Toyotas as a pro, and I've done well ever since. Cut a lot of
That is
checks.
awesome. That's awesome right there. I would like to talk about, being a co-angler, and, that is one of them things we go back and forth on. And I guess co-angler, it's people really don't understand what you're doing as a co-angler, like you were talking about learning. And
Absolutely.
you did say you got lucky. Was there some who were some of the anglers that you got to be a part of? Because I mean, you hear
Oh
horror
man.
stories, you hear some good stories about getting paired
So
up with somebody and be like, this guy was a nightmare. He came from Northern Virginia. He'd never been on the lake before in his whole entire life. I mean,
luckily, I've heard all those stories too, and I think that's what veers away a lot of the co-anglers from doing that. And then it's I've had one. I'll admit that I've had one, and I
mm-hmm.
had to have him DQ'd because of some stuff that he did. I've never, ever, ever done something like that, and I've never had that opportunity or even thought about doing that again. So one bad apple out of all the people I've ever drawn, that's really good.
Yeah, that's
Um,
great.
and as much as I know, he doesn't even fish anymore, so
Oh
I'm not
wow.
worried about him anymore. So, but yeah, let's see. A few years ago, my very last year as a co-angler on the Potomac River, people like Matt Becker.
Ooh.
I've drawn Matt Becker. I've had, oh man, people I've had. Um, Martin Vila,
Yeah.
Dakota Ebear. Um,
So you've gotten some very good teachers.
oh yeah. Golly, there's so many. I mean, there's so many people that not even big names that
Right.
are just as good as big names. And they've all taught me something. Like on the Potomac River, um, my very last year of co-angling, I almost won that event. I was leading it on day two. Well, it wasn't leading. No, I take that back. I'm sorry. I was not leading it. I was in fourth place,
Okay.
and I was only like a pound and a half shy back out. And I drew Matt Becker on day three, and he was the most consistent guy. And it was bad
Oh
weather,
man.
good weather. But the last day was good weather, and none of his fish played. He had one 12-incher for like 12 ounces or 1 pound or something, and then I had a 2.5 pounder. That was it, and I ended up in third. So thank you for that 2.5 pounder. But I learned a lot. You still learn. That's just that weather thing that you have to
Right.
learn compared to what your fish are going to do. He was ready for those fish to be the exact same way, and they weren't. When that sun came out, it pushed those fish somewhere else, and he never got that to experience how to fish that, and probably failed on the fact that he couldn't practice it correctly. But the
Mm-hmm.
weather just didn't prevail for that. So just like me on this vent, uh, practice was nothing but sunny and hot and still, and then days 1 and 2 were nasty weather, windy. Um, the tides were rolling higher and higher each day, and I needed the low tide. So I really didn't know how to present myself in that bad weather, but it played out. I mean, they were still there. I had 100% confidence that the fish were there. I just
Right.
needed to figure them out. But they still ate the same way. They just bit better in high tide with that bad weather than they did in low tide and bad weather. So it worked out for me.
As you being a co-angler and taking notes, is there any tips that you could give anyone, a young angler, because we think about that
Yeah,
now, it's crazy, Michael, that we talk about this. We got so many young kids coming up now, and these kids, electronics, forward-facing sonar, all this high-tech technology we have now, they're not really going from co-angler anymore. They're going directly to angler. I mean, these kids have it
right.
all wrapped up where, you kind of wonder one day, would the co-angler just start to disappear? I mean, and We've talked about that in the past about that, would the co-angler ever disappear, because there's a new generation coming in and everybody wants to be on the front of the boat.
Right. And I'm hearing that. I'm sure you have too.
Yes.
There's some upcoming things that could possibly end up that way. And I hate to see that. I don't see one particular field of anglers that will be doing that soon, but I do know another one. That probably will be starting that next year. I'm not going to put that out there,
Right.
but
Right.
I do see that happening very, very near future. And yes, of course, as a co-angler, the biggest thing and biggest advice I could ever give is never think that you can't make it, because you can. It is still just as much work as from the back of the boat it is from the front. And if anything, you learn more from the back of the boat than the
Right. Oh
front,
yeah.
because you're not only dissecting what you know and how to fish, but you're also taking what that boater has already done and putting that to your advantage as well. Um, as a co-pro is what I always called myself, a pro co-angler. You can't be on that boat and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna waypoint this spot. You can't do that. You'll be DQ'd.
Right.
But go back, remember what you're doing. Remember what he was throwing. What was he doing differently than I was? Lighter line, front of the log, back of the log. Um, he was keeping his bait, neutral zone where the thermocline was changing, or he was letting it go all the way to the bottom. I was taking notes of everything I could possibly do. Um, Plus,
Fish.
I had a lot of pros that actually gave me knowledge as well about the area, that before I even went there, what to do. Like a simple tip as um, you're up north and you're chasing smallmouth with spinnerbaits. Well, smallmouth normally don't, they will wreck a spinnerbait, but they will
Mm-hmm.
fall back off a spinnerbait. And as a co-angler, you want to pay attention to someone doing that, because I've caught limits behind a boater, because I watched a fish chase that spinnerbait and go straight down, and I would just pitch a Ned rig over there and whack him.
Mm.
I mean, there was just nothing, he wasn't going to
Yeah.
eat the spinnerbait. He'll eat the Ned rig. They'll go right down there, and you just drop it down there and they'll eat it. But something as simple as that is great knowledge for a co-angler, because it's just something that defined me growing up anyhow. I did it for so long.
That co-angler role. I mean, it's no different than going to school, going to college. You are investing in your future by learning from and hoping to get picked by, have a good angler. But you really are investing in your future, as an 18, 19, 20-year old, however young you are. But you're kind of,
Yeah.
it's an investment in that, you're going to do it at school, you're going to do it at college, and you can do it anywhere else, any other profession that you get into. It's going to be some type of investment out there. And like, we preached it here in the past, become a co-angler. I mean, sign up, fish as many as you possibly can as a co-angler. Don't matter what
Yep.
series you're in, to be honest. Moving up, to the boating side of it, you know, it does take a little bit of a mental impact, a different change, because the entry fees get more expensive. And like you talked about earlier, having great sponsors to back you. I see Arc Rod's one of those on your jersey.
Absolutely.
But how was it going from that transition for you from the front of the boat? I mean, from the back of the boat to the front of the boat.
Well, for one, people start taking you a little bit more serious.
Right.
And two, yes, it does hurt your pocket a little bit. You better be ready for it, because you have fuel practice fuel, you have tournament fuel, travel expenses are more. Um, you got to be aware of other people, and your insurance is higher. And now there's so much more added on to this, room and board and all that. So it's great to travel. We have travel buddies, or a practice partner that will travel with you, or a co-link that will travel with you. Fortunately, thank God I have one of those, this one. So it's been good.
Well, that's good.
Um, huh?
That's good.
Yeah, having someone with you that you can trust and practice with is always good, and split cost with, of course. Because nowadays, if you don't already know, there's something wrong, but it is expensive. Everything you do is expensive, and it's horrible. But so just coming to the front of the boat, yeah, it's a big mentally difference. Now it's on you.
Yeah.
And now it's just like this sweet spot, this special spot I have. I have 3 co-anglers that know where it's at now. And if they move up, they might use it. That's how I learned that
Mm-hmm.
area. I didn't learn everything about it, but I learned that area because of a boater that took me there, and it showed me, what was there. And then I just went and dialed it in over the years. So something like that. I mean, you just have those times where you're just going to have to be okay with what happens, and just know that you're a teacher and long as a professional angler.
Yeah, and a lot of guys, and you were talking about there earlier about going to a single angler on the boat, and a lot of guys are trying. There's a couple different tournament trails around here, just small events right now that have popped up with a single, just a single angler on the boat because they don't want to give away them spots. They don't want to be that teacher.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I caught him here and I got a chance to win, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all before. Fish move, everything moves, everything changes. But I mean, it don't change a lot as much during practice and all that great stuff. But, you know, the mental aspect of that, thinking about that now that you're taking on the burden of being in the front of the boat, it's the financial burden as well. You go from where do I really, what am I really? Am I here to cash checks, here to do, which you are, but here to do really good in points to get to this certain level? I mean, there's so many different things that play into it. Like you said, now since you won an event, you qualify for the championship. But
Right.
breaking that all down, how have you been able to kind of deal with that and then be that teacher that you need to be to the co-angler?
Well, that sort of falls back as being as co-angler, because back in the day, I mean, when I was a co-angler, I swore to myself like that gentleman that I had to DQ. I mean, there was just absolutely no way in the world I would ever treat a co-angler the way I did. And you could probably contact any of the 3 co-anglers I had this week, and they'll tell you who the kind of guy I am. I am a phenomenal angler. I teach them as I'm going. Of course, I'm not just going to be like, hey, pitch right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I always welcome them to anything, mainly, unless it's really specific. This week was really specific, but you know, it's sort of hard. It really is, knowing that you're trying to be a professional,
Mm-hmm.
and you have someone behind you, but they're also trying to become a professional.
Right.
So you want to be that teacher, but yet you don't want to give it all away, because you got, thousands of dollars on the line. And when I, like, on day 3, I told the guy, I was like, look, man, I mean, I'm not leaving a stone unturned.
Right.
So please pay attention and just do something. You can follow my lead, you know. And he did. He caught a lot, but he just never caught any keepers on the last day, unfortunately, except one. But
I know. Yeah,
uh,
that just happens. I mean, and that's the thing when you, as being a co-angler, that you have to understand that if you get paired up with a guy who's in first place or has the opportunity to be in first place and maybe a pound or two behind, that sorry, he's going to try to help you, but he's here to
yeah,
cash checks and
yeah.
you're here to cash checks as well. But it sometimes happens. Set up the so guys, the river, man. This is a tidal water. Set us up how the river was fishing this week for this Toyota Series event, man.
All right. So the Tidal River itself is something really accustomed to me because I come from one. I'm here. I live on the St. Johns, and I like to fish the north end of the St. Johns a lot more than I do the south. I live up here. It's already, like I said, I grew up in the salty, marshy area, over in Pensacola, Florida. So I was fishing those all that was tidal. My whole life I've been fishing tidal. Blackwater River, Scambia River, Yellow River over there, and then moving over here to St. Johns River. So I've been accustomed to it all my whole life. So when I go into the Potomac these past years, it's always felt good to me because I've understood that section of that part of the
Right.
tidal stuff. The only thing different about the Potomac is it's faster.
Mm-hmm.
It moves in faster, it moves out faster, and it can switch on a dime. A dime. So, but that being said, the Potomac River is that title thing to me was I had to focus on low tide. When I went in there on day one, it set up perfectly because it was a new moon for one.
That's true. It
And I
was.
went in, yep. And I went in and first thing I knew the spot previously, of course, over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to check it and get it out of the way, whether it has fish or it don't. I spent 35 minutes in this area and I left it and I didn't go back till to day one. I went in there. There was 4 boats lingering around. I passed one and he waved at me and he shut down and left. And I was like, okay. Then I moved up to a grass stretch. I was almost there to my sweet stuff. And there was a guy fishing all of that. And I said, hey man, he's like, hey. And I said, how you doing? He said, not good, man. This place is just crap. I was like, okay. I don't know. And he sits down like 5 minutes after that and leaves. I idle on by him and go around to my wood stretch where most of my laydowns that I like to fish are. And I stop and I look up and there's a boat way up in front of me. And like I said, this is on the tail end of the low tide. Like this is where it gets good. And this guy, I have a bend up there a ways up the creek that I like to
Okay.
drop shot, and I can see him way up there. And he just keeps on going. I'm like, okay. So I flip, and as I'm flipping in this brush, my very first fish, I went ahead and set the hook to check it, and it was a 6-pounder. I was like, okay, yeah. So
Wow.
I put the 6-pounder down, and I look around, and I'm like, everybody's gone except that guy way up ahead of me. And so I flip in the next treetop. I got bit, and I shook it off. There's like 13 to, well, no, more than that, probably about 18 to 20 treetops in this stretch,
Mm-hmm.
and laydowns, I should say.
Okay.
And I would say out of all those laydowns, I probably didn't get bit in 2 of them. And
Ooh.
one of them I pulled up, and I pulled it to the top, and it was like a 4 or 5-pounder. So after that, I really just left. I idled up to that bend that I like, and I scoped it with my forward-facing sonar, and I seen there was like 40 fish up there, and I pitched up there, caught a 3-pounder. I pitched up there again, 2 casts back to back, another 2.5-pounder, and I was done. So I left.
Practice was
I
over,
didn't want
boys and
anybody to
girls.
see that. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't need to see any more.
So the low
So
tide, you're talking about you needed the low tide to catch your fish, and that
yeah.
when you were seeing the laydowns, were you seeing a lot of the trees coming out of the water, or were the trees still
Oh yeah.
submerged?
There was very little submerged. Most of
Okay.
them were out of the water. So the ones that were out of the water that were still somewhat in the water, those were the best ones. I feel like because they know that tree's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are in the water still and just fully submerged, there was fish on them, but they didn't really want to lay on those. I haven't figured that part out yet, but they're there. And yeah, when that low tide, see, there's another key factor to this stuff. In this area, there's a big pad field too. So this pad field is humongous, humongous. And there's fish back there. They're everywhere back there, but you can't get to them. I can't get my Phoenix 921 can't get in there. During high tide, it can't get in there. So when it goes low, they all coming to me. They all come out in that channel. That current sweeping out of there. They only have a couple places to set up. So I feel like that was the prominent thing to do was to pick apart that stuff. And I would spend an hour and a half to 2 hours on just one pass. And I would do it 5 times a day. I would take that pass about 5 times a day. That's it.
Were the fish replenishing each and every day that you were catching?
Each and every day.
Each and every
Every
day.
day,
Mm.
every day. Man, I'm telling you, it's something special, dude, because they would just come from the back, or they would come in from them pad fields. The ones that were in there, they would come out and in, and you can see them swimming around every once in a while. And there was just there was so many more fish there. I don't even think I caught a quarter of what was there
It's
all
crazy how
3
you
days.
it's crazy how you got that whole entire spot to yourself and no one else figured that out. I mean,
It's a
that's a
special stretch, dude.
All right, we're not going to ask the special. We don't want to know about the special juice, but that's pretty freaking awesome. You
Yeah.
said you drop shot a lot. Did you catch a lot of your fish drop shotting, or were you doing some other stuff as well?
So I have been asked that before already, and I would say it was more like, so once I finished my pass on the wood, I would let that rest and I would go hit my bins,
Yeah.
and they would set up. There would be more and more set up within every other hour because I feel like a lot of them, they stay in that grass until it is dirt, and then they come out and they'll set on that drop and catch all this bait fish coming through. So I would pitch a real heavy weight, like a 1/8 or a 1/4 ounce weight up there, with a small leader, and just drop shot and just drag it really slow down that crevice on that drop.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just, because they're just sitting nose front, and once that worm came by them, if it came by them too fast, they wouldn't eat. So if it come by slow enough, man, they just eat it.
Was the current
So
moving pretty
it's
good in this location? I mean,
oh
to
yeah,
keep them bait fish all stirred up?
yeah. I mean, there's sometimes that you got to kick that thing up on like 5, 6, 7 of them, 7 bars, just to keep your trolling motor and going forward. That water rips out of there when the further back you get, the faster that water's rolling. And I'm pretty far back in this creek, so
Ooh. Maybe you have to take kayak up in there one day. Holy cow. We can get way back
I,
up in there with the old kayak, or get one of someone else's aluminum boats. A couple other anglers we know fish with aluminum boats and get up in there and catch some
yeah,
giant bass.
it gets shallow. It gets shallow, but there's kayakers back there. There was kayakers there when I was in practice,
Do you
and
feel
I
that
didn't see.
do you feel the shallow kind of, shallow fishing kind of plays in your wheelhouse coming from, like I said, Pensacola, Florida, and fishing, other rivers?
I do. Again. I don't know how I can say it really, but I feel real comfortable fishing shallow water because I just feel like all the fish don't just move out because it gets shallow. They stay there.
Yeah.
They might get a little bit more spookier. And I mean, even if I got hung up, I'd go up there and I'd have to pull the trolling motor just to get to my worm. That's how shallow I was fishing.
Mm-hmm.
The deepest I was fishing was 3.5 feet, the deepest. And yeah, so they really stay shallow because they're going to just wait till that high tide comes back in and get right back where they were. Now, my other thing was happening was there were spawners still
Okay.
back there, and there was numerous fish I would catch, and most of them were bucks, and you would catch them and they'd be just peeing because that just tells you that they're still doing something here and there. And I don't believe they were spawning where I was at. I just believe they were way back in the pad spawning and stuff, but they
Mm-hmm.
had to come back out of it during low tide, and it was like plucking fish from a basket.
That is awesome.
It was crazy, man. They just don't have nowhere to go when it gets low, except on wood and big bins where they can set up and eat. So
That's pretty cool right there. The tide, itself, that can be for you getting being used to it. Do you have any tips for anybody who, let's say first time going to a tidal body of water? I mean, you can make a run and not be able to come back. I mean, you could pick the wrong
oh
time. I mean, I've heard
yes.
so many. I'll be honest, I've never been on that water. I had a trip that was planned. I tell people all the time, and a guy blew up his motor, and I've never been on it. I've been up here to cover events, but I've never actually been on the Potomac River. But you know, is there any tips that you could give anybody for fishing tidal water? I mean,
I mean, be aware of your surroundings for one, because I did get stuck twice in
ooh,
practice. I went back and everything was fine. Even when I was fishing back there was fine and the water was coming out. But when I was coming back, oh, it went down to inches. I mean, it was just be aware of how your depths are for sure. Um, Tides are not something you want to really play with. I mean, a lot of these, elites, you've seen them on TV, they'll get stuck on major flats for hours. They're
mm-hmm.
done. Um, and then there'll be 3 foot of water on it when it's high tide. So you just got to be paying attention to that stuff. But I don't know. My best time to ever fish is at outgoing tide, anyhow. So outgoing tides, that all the bait gets pushed way back. The bass know that they set up and they'll eat them as they come back out. So incoming tide, I did, however, catch two of my biggest fish this week. That 611 on day one
Right.
was the very first fish I caught, and that was on a high tide. Um, so I know you can catch them good on a high tide too, but it was just it was 10 to 1 on a low tide. So my best advice in a tidal river is just find current breaks, find anywhere a fish could get out of the current and literally ambush bait. Even if it's a tight bend, there's a certain area in that tight bend they're going to sit where they can be more relaxed to catch their bait. And they don't want to put themselves in a bunch of pressure the whole time just to get food. So them are the key spots, where they're going to be their sweet spot areas. So there might be a 50-yard bend, but there's only going to be a 10-yard catching area
Right.
where they set up at. And
I mean,
fortunately,
they're just like us, lazy. I mean, I hate to say
actually,
it.
they're lazy.
They're lazy. And I mean, would you want to have to run down the street to grab food or just wait till it comes to you?
Yep.
And that's
And
what
that's how I
bass
was
are. I
catching.
mean,
Yeah.
they're like us, they're willing to wait for it to come by, eat, and continue on.
So the
So
only thing that messed with me some is I couldn't find no shell. Couldn't find really any much. I found one little spot that had a little bit of shell on it, but I figured there'd be a lot more in those areas. But being that it's so salty down there where I was at,
okay.
and then running way back in the creeks, you would think there'd be a lot more shells, but some shell flats or something. But I couldn't find them. Now I did find some up like in, up in towards Aquia and Belmont Bay and Quantico.
Yeah.
I found some areas like that up there, but they were covered up with people. So I really couldn't, certain people have already found them and there was people on them.
I
I
went up
had a
there
couple other spots and
I went up there a couple of years ago for a big event, and that it is a hot area that you're talking about. And plus the grass, the thing where they got eel grass and they have don't they have two types of grass up there?
they got milfoil and hydrilla.
Milfoil. That's it. I apologize, not eel. Milfoil. And the area that you found your fish, was there any of the grass around there that you were dragging that worm through?
None.
None. Wow.
All my grass was like marshy grass. So there is a certain type of grass, but it's still, I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but it's like a potted plant.
Oh,
I don't know what it is. It's like a little, I don't know if it's part of sprouts of a marsh plant that sits up on them tight banks. But it's not like regular grass like what we're talking about.
yeah.
And this year it was a lot slimmer. Previous years I've had tons of milfoil and tons of hydrilla flats that you could flip in 3 foot of water and you're just punching through. And
Mm-hmm.
like Greco went in last year, flipping that wall of
Mm-hmm.
grass, catching on front. That wasn't there this year. That was under the water a little bit, and that was it. It was all you saw was pads everywhere. That's all you could see anymore.
You think
So
the
it was a
river's
big
making a
difference this year.
you think the river's making a change, or
I feel something has. I don't know what it is, but something has. I mean, look at the St. Johns River, and we had our Hurricane Matthew come through years ago, and then we had another one backed it up, and it took everything. We don't have anything.
wow.
It's coming back. They're doing a restoration of it, and we got fences up everywhere. They're putting in. We got fields of eelgrass coming in good, and hydrilla is just starting in some places, and we have a couple areas that's absolutely loaded with eelgrass now. So that's making a comeback, and I hope that y'all's do too, because that's a great fishery. A few years back, I would run up and down that river. I mean, from Potomac Creek all the way to Belmont Bay, and it would have grass all the way up and down the main river, and there's none. There's none.
Wow.
I don't know
That's
where it's
crazy.
at. I don't know what's happening. I think maybe they got too much salt.
Yeah,
Salt at one time and it killed it. I don't know.
that's
Something that
crazy.
I spoke with someone else about that, and I'm sure they're doing some defined work and trying to figure out why the grass is gone. But
Yeah, because that's like I said, that grass has been very important to that river. So,
yeah,
and for you guys out there who live on Smith Mountain Lake, I wish we had more grass in Smith Mountain Lake, but we don't, because you guys decide to kill it all. But I wish they
Yeah,
had more grass in that because the fish love the grass, and it's a great place to get out of moving current. It's a great place, just for protection. Period for fish and bass. Um, dude, man, congratulations on the win. I mean, the trophy is
I
sitting
appreciate
beside
it.
him.
It means a lot.
The
Yeah.
money spends, it disappears faster than you know, but that trophy right there will be in your house forever. Looking ahead, man, what's on the schedule for you, Michael?
So that's a good question. I have a Bass Nation Pro Am event here in a couple of weeks on Lake Seminole, and then I'm going to be going next stop after that is straightforward. It's going to be Lake Champlain. And then I got St. Lawrence River up in New York, and then I come back down from our last Southern in September on Santee Cooper
Mm,
in South Carolina. So that's
hmm.
going to be a good one. I've never fished Santee in the fall, so I can dig that one out though. I'll figure that one out. I'm sure it'll flip up fish at that time, and
Yeah,
I'll be able to catch them wacky rig still and stuff that I really like to do. Because if I can put a punching bait in my hand, I'm down. I love to flip. So
that's awesome.
well,
That's
hopefully
awesome.
that will happen.
Well, brother, man, before you leave, like I said, I appreciate you coming on night, talking to us a little, giving us some great tips there. Um, Anybody out there you want to thank, sponsors, etc.?
Yeah. First and foremost, Bruiser Baits. I caught all my fish on a Bruiser hog, which is sort of like a custom to a brush hog, but it's a Bruiser hog.
Mm-hmm.
And I also on our drop shot, and that drop shot was a big key player for me. I caught a couple other fish on a popping frog here and there, and
Right.
a chatterbait. But I never even got to catch one on a chatterbait during the tournament. Practice, I had a couple of nice spots, but that wasn't it. But Bruiser baits for sure. They helped me get the win 100%. Just fine lining that, flat out tungstens, bass addiction gear, arc rods. I was throwing a 7.4 Invoker Pro, 7.4 heavy Invoker Pro, and 7.2 medium heavy Invoker Pro spinning rod. So I'm also throwing their gravity reels. Arc has gravity reels in the
Okay.
spinning and casting reels, and they're my go-to reel for sure. I fish nothing but them. So MGM Cold Tags, they're one of
Okay.
my a real good sponsor of mine. They're from up north. Got to go check them out if you like them. Love them. I love them. I'll be doing actually a giveaway at Champlain, and I'm going to
Ooh.
be doing a giveaway at St. Lawrence River for a set of those. So
So you guys make sure you
Phoenix,
follow social media. That way you can be a part of this giveaway.
absolutely. Because if you follow me, michaelcatfishing.com, I'm Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. If you want to get on there and follow me there, I do all of those. So I've been trying to do that. So another big player this year is Dakota Lithium Batteries for me. They have been phenomenal. They've stood behind me. Those batteries are strong. They last me all year long. And I sometimes don't even have to charge them, man. They just
That's awesome.
do their own thing. Power pole charge. They've stood behind me 100% as well. I mean, those guys are phenomenal. Um, I've been running a Phoenix 921 Pro XP. That one is up for sale right now. My boat
Mm.
that I have right now, that's up for sale. I am fixing to get me a brand new one. I've been waiting for a while for this new boat to come out, and I'll be getting that here soon, hopefully before Champlain. So if anybody's interested in my 921 Pro XP, hit me up. It's for a really good deal right now. Everything goes. It's fully
Everything
rigged,
goes.
so everything goes. Owner hooks. I I, uh, I picked them up last year, and it's the best decision of my life.
That's
I love
awesome.
owner hooks. Owner hooks are great. They've done real good for me too. So 44 tackle. Let me think of some Chubby Wings. I have a wing restaurant down here that takes care of me. Every Tuesday I go eat wings, so they always take care of me for that too. So and Flambeau. I've just went into Flambeau, all their boxes, any kind of tackle boxes you need. And for my hunting purposes, I have a bow case. Their
Ooh.
Formula One bow case for hunting is phenomenal. So pretty much that's it. And Seagar Line, I can't leave them out. They're a big, 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 big player for me because those logs and all them laydowns I was pitching on have barnacles on them, and I broke off a couple times, but I would come back with most of my fish, and I'd have to retie. My line was all frayed up, but it lasts. That's some strong line. So I got to give a big shout out to Seagar for that.
Michael, appreciate you coming on. Pleasure to meet you, and wish you the best of luck in the rest of 2024, and good luck at the championship.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to that Wheeler Lake. Really good. I heard they got big smallmouth, and I'm ready for that.
Oh, yes. All right, guys. Really appreciate Michael coming on and talking with us tonight. What a great show. I mean, congratulations to him on getting his first ever big Toyota Series win on the Potomac River. I really want to go to that event, but I didn't know it was kind of scheduled. The way the schedule worked out, it just didn't happen. So we ended up going, like I said, down North Carolina for the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Shop Series event, watching Drew Gill win his first ever event. So we had two people get their first ever big win. So congratulations to them right here in my backyard. Guys, before you go, don't forget Dockside Live 365. This show will air there on Saturday and Sunday morning, as well as the American Angler Outdoors, TAAO. Head on over now, download the app. You can watch Me and Geek, or you can watch many other shows. You can watch it on your TV. You can watch it on your mobile phone. There's no subscription charge. There's nothing. It's completely free for you to watch bass fishing, and you get to see some of the great interviews. And it plays 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's a lot of Bass Cast Radio that you could be watching right now on the American Angler Outdoors. Have a great week, everyone. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you all coming up this weekend. Thank you to my father, got me into fishing, and all my other friends that got me into bass fishing. Appreciate you all. And again, thank you for being a part of Basscast Radio and the basscast.com. Have a great week, everybody.